The night my son was born, at home, nearly 19 years ago, amidst the late arriving midwives in a snowstorm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was then working on the film Young Guns 2, the very first thing I said to him was, "Welcome to planet Earth, Joshua." I specifically welcomed him to planet Earth because, of all the things I love about my life, I simply love the planet Earth the most. She's such a wondrously amazing place with such vastness to see and so many stunningly gorgeous places to visit, so many fun and exciting things to do, and so many brilliant, talented, and hopefully enlightened people to work and create with. As we move together toward creating a venture with an enormous ability to affect and change society for not just a better future, but for the best future imaginable, it matters not at all to me whether you are or are not a Republican or Democrat, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, or whatever you've chosen for yourself as an independent individual soul sharing this life and this planet and this time in our history together. All that really matters to me in this, my life's work, for which I have prepared and been prepared for over the past half-century, is that I am allowed and honored to work with the very best and brightest, most visionary creative geniuses in all the related fields, whom I, with the help of the Lord of the universe, can attract to this project and this adventure. If you are fiercely independent, libertarian-minded, if you think, live, and breathe entirely outside of the proverbial box, if your vision is limitless and your enthusiasm completely unbridled, if your goals are forward-thinking and progressive, and your desires are honest and compassionate, you are exactly the person for whom I have created this presentation. It has been stated recently and somewhat recurrently that America is on the wrong path, that it has somehow sadly lost its moral compass, that it has abdicated its uplifting role as the world's guiding light, and has abandoned its heirloom heritage of defining craftsmanship. If this is so, with your participation, this is all about to change in a major way. Together we are presented with the chance of a lifetime in a place I see and have always seen as today's land of opportunity. We are tasked with not waiting to be led, but to lead this area and through it this state and our nation into and throughout an economic uprising for the future. But first, I must give you a brief yet thorough historical background of how and why I developed this project over the years as I have. The late great Stanley Kubrick once said, "Because I direct films, I have to live in a major English-speaking production center. That narrows it down to 3 places: Los Angeles, New York, and London. I like New York, but it's inferior to London as a production center. Hollywood is best, but I don't like living there. You read books or see films that depict people being corrupted by Hollywood, but it isn't that. It's this tremendous sense of insecurity, a lot of destructive competitiveness. In comparison, England seems very remote. I try to keep up, read the trade papers, but it's good to get it on paper and not have to hear it every place you go. I think it's good to just do the work and insulate yourself from that undercurrent of low-level malevolence." England's Elstree Studios was the home studio of Alfred Hitchcock, as well as a number of great and historical movies, including many by Stanley Kubrick, my personal favorite Western filmmaker. Stanley made Dr. Strangelove, The Shining, Lolita, and 2001: A Space Odyssey there, where he held 7 of the 9 sound stages for 3 years, as well as the socially critical black comedy A Clockwork Orange. The latest addition to Elstree is the all-new George Lucas stage, named for the famed creator of Star Wars. Elstree is also where Steven Spielberg made Indiana Jones and Saving Private Ryan. We were thrilled to have the opportunity to return to Elstree Studios and to once again work with Britain's great technicians. In truth, for us, all stages are pretty much the same. What distinguishes one studio from another is the people who run it. At Elstree, the studios provided us with the most efficient, organized, and dedicated team who are always able to adapt and respond immediately to our complex and technically challenging production requirements. Rick McCallum, producer of Star Wars. But it is Elstree's neighbor, Pinewood Studios, the primary home of the James Bond movies, that I turned to as the initial inspirational model for the Avalon Digital Studios. Pinewood Studios is isolated away from the metropolitan centre of London, nestled in a bucolic English country setting. In November 2007, Pinewood announced a $400 million expansion plan known as Project Pinewood. The development will see replicas of streetscapes and zones replicating locations from the UK, Europe, and the USA. In addition, it will also be used as residential housing for its creative community, proposed to be greater than 2,000 individuals. Pinewood Studios is where Stanley made his last two films, Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut. The 007 stage at Pinewood is one of the largest multi-purpose sound stages in the world. Capable of both wet and dry scenes, it features a massive water tank, one of the largest in Europe. In July of 2006, a fire seriously damaged the vast 007 stage, which had been transformed into a replica of Venice, Italy, the setting of the James Bond film Casino Royale. Construction on the new stage began on September 18, 2006, and was completed in under 6 months. Our next stop is Cinecittà Studios in Rome, Italy, built in 1937 by fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. It later became a symbol for Italy's creative rebirth after the war, and was most closely associated with the flamboyant, libertarian work of director Federico Fellini. Cinecittà, as is to be expected of Italian artists and craftspersons, a beautiful facility. But on Friday, August 10, 2007, a fire destroyed parts of Cinecittà, which has been at the center of the Italian film industry for 70 years. Filmmakers who have utilized these facilities include Roberto Rossellini, Michelangelo Antonioni, Sergio Leone, and Bernardo Bertolucci. Films shot mainly at Cinecittà in recent years have included Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York and Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. And Cinecittà is the home office of master cinematographer and 3-time Academy Award winner Vittorio Storaro, with whom I have had the great pleasure and honor of working in 1987 on the George Lucas produced and Francis Coppola directed Tucker, The Man in His Dream. It is my great hope to collaborate with Vittorio, as well as the many other great film and musical artists I have had the pleasure to have known, repeatedly and extensively at Avalon Digital Studios. Vittorio once said, "I have always thought that film was capable of registering the emotions of the people who participated in the making of a movie. It doesn't matter in which part of the world the screen is. Through this screen, we are able to express ourselves, our culture, our sentiments, and our emotions. Through this screen, we are able to learn and to teach each other. Through this screen, we are able to grow up together." Our next stop is at the Disney MGM Universal Complex in Kissimmee, Florida. This 37-square-mile entertainment complex, merely an hour's drive west of the Kennedy Space Flight Center at Cape Canaveral, is by far the most thoroughly developed such entity anywhere in the world. But just as Los Angeles has its drawbacks for many of us who choose to work in and throughout this industry, Florida too has its own. As they say, it may be a great place to visit, but I personally wouldn't want to live or work there. Universal Studios Florida is the 12th most visited vacation spot in America. Disney World, as would be expected, is the 5th most visited vacation spot in America. And here, I must point out another great influence on me as far as the Avalon and Millennium 3 ventures are concerned. The Imagineers at Disney and those architects and engineers who have created the Wilderness Lodge at Disney World. This 750-foot-long, 750-room resort lodge really caught my attention as I was developing Avalon Digital Studios, and especially the resort lodge at Avalon. But we'll come back to this in greater detail when we get to the 3D virtual tour of the resort lodge at Avalon. Our next stop is also our most immediate competition, the Filmport development in Toronto, Canada. This $761 million project, much like the $400 million expansion planned at Pinewood in England and the $3 billion expansion plan for Universal Studios Hollywood, which aim to gather their artists into a close-knit artist community within a stone's throw of the studios themselves, thus keeping expenses and pollution to a minimum, is being created as a cultural hub for the Eastern Canadian entertainment industries. What stands out the most for me in the Filmport development is the way the Toronto Economic Development Corporation joined with the local regional banks to form the consortium with which to finance this nearly $1 billion project for the overall growth, development, and modernization of the immediate area. The result was thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars in annual income for years to come. But like most studios, Filmport will not be, in my eyes, a beautiful place to live and work. It will be much like the average studio where a large number of enormous and extremely plain buildings are thrust closely together in a very small area. This is most definitely not the approach I took when designing Avalon Digital Studios. Filmport will be like no other business community, anchored by a state-of-the-art film and television production facility with the world's largest purpose-built soundstage. Filmport will stand at the leading edge of the world's film, television, music, and interactive cultural industries. But Filmport will be much more than a production facility. It will be a convergence district for creative and knowledge-based industries where synergies will flourish as innovative ideas and opportunities find complementary mindsets. As a community, Filmport will support a rich infrastructure of recreational, cultural, and tourist amenities, with its vibrant heart pulsating with businesses refreshed by cafes and bistros, explored by curious tourists, and entertained by its cultural amenities. Filmport will not disappoint. When I read this card for the first time back in the summer of 2008, I thought, they must have been reading my internal emails, or my mind. This describes my Avalon and North Valley planned unit development to a T. A convergence district for creative and knowledge-based industries, businesses refreshed by cafes and bistros, explored by curious tourists, and entertained by its cultural amenities. But again, this is why they could get from conception to completion in half the time it will have taken me by 2012. Their economic development group and their regional bank grasped the vision. And so now we reach the West Coast, where we begin in Los Angeles, 250 square miles populated by nearly 11 million people. And at the center of this is Hollywood, the second largest polluter in Los Angeles. And at the center of Hollywood is, of course, Disneyland, the sixth most visited vacation spot in America. Disney's Grand Californian Hotel is a craftsman-style structure based on the arts and crafts movement of the early 1900s, a personal favorite of mine, and especially in the works of the Green brothers and that of Frank Lloyd Wright. Despite the large scale of the hotel, 750 rooms, the architecture still captures the key elements of the craftsman style: wide sweeping roofs, projecting beams, exaggerated braces, and colors that blend with nature. The interior design of the hotel also features the craftsman motif, albeit on a larger scale. Many craftsman homes have a garden theme. For the Grand Californian, the theme was taken from a garden idea and scaled up so that the garden became a forest. The central lobby is a living room done in immense scale, with a massive fireplace and vast arching beams overhead, and furnished with comfortable chairs and sofas arranged around small coffee tables. Many of the items found throughout the hotel have been handcrafted by modern practitioners of the arts and crafts movement using traditional techniques. Many of these same craftsmen and women will also be found working in and throughout the Disney film studios. Add to this the $1.1 billion Art Deco expansion to Disney's California Adventure theme park over the next 3 to 4 years, and you find a wondrous improvement in the updating of an old friend. In response to a growing demand for guest accommodations in Anaheim, the Disneyland Resort announced on September 18, 2007, an expansion of Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa that will increase accommodation by more than 30% and will include the first Disney Vacation Club villas in Anaheim. Under the leadership of Robert A. Iger, President and CEO, the de facto leader of the Imagineers, and another of my role models, the 2.5-acre expansion on the hotel's south side will add more than 200 new hotel rooms and 50 two-bedroom equivalent vacation villas. Those vacation villas, planned to include kitchens, living and dining areas, and other home-like amenities, will mark the West Coast debut of Disney's Vacation Club, Disney's Vacation Ownership Program. The new expansion will be known as the Villas at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa. Other elements planned for the project include a rooftop deck for viewing fireworks, a new swimming pool, and about 300 underground parking spaces. From here we move slightly north to an overview of the Disney Buena Vista Universal Warner Brothers area of North Hollywood and Burbank. Here we see the Universal Studios, the 17th most visited vacation spot in America, which just suffered its own soundstage and backlot fire. But as previously mentioned, Universal Studios is planning its own $3 billion expansion, much like that planned by Pinewood in England. Again, the idea here is to create contiguous artist communities which accomplish an enormous good by keeping costs for both the companies and their employees and pollution to their very minimums. Close by in Glendale, California is the DreamWorks Animation Campus. DreamWorks also has a Northern California campus in Redwood City, just across the bay from Pixar in Emeryville. Steven Spielberg has just completed the task of reclaiming his DreamWorks as a standalone company with a capital infusion from India and others here at home, which exceeds $2 billion. So why, you may certainly ask, do I want to build a major studio complex in Southern Oregon? The answers to this are many. Following Francis Coppola's lead of breaking away from Hollywood, where he established his Zoetrope Studios in the historic Sentinel Building, one of the few survivors of the great San Francisco earthquake in 1906, the studio is located in San Francisco's North Beach area, known by the locals as Little Italy. When you arrive at American Zoetrope, the first thing that takes you off guard is the non-Hollywood studio look of the building. Angular and Art Deco, American Zoetrope seems to jut out of the middle of the block, like the prow of a giant 1920s cruise liner that was accidentally parked in the middle of downtown San Francisco. From Coppola's four-star restaurant cafe on the first floor to the digital telescene next door, Francis has made American Zoetrope the definitive haven for the independent filmmaker, a place where aesthetics are never compromised to serve technology. A filmmaker can find a production haven at American Zoetrope because all the tools and processes were developed during the real-world film productions. American Zoetrope's Northern California location is an asset. Being 400 miles away from Hollywood gives them a unique twist and perspective. And through the miracles of the internet and FedEx, they're really not much farther away from downtown Los Angeles than Burbank. The all-new Industrial Light and Magic facility at the historic Presidio in San Francisco, known as the Letterman Film Center, built on the site of the old U.S. Army Letterman Hospital, is so because George Lucas's neighbors in the Lucas Valley of Marin County refused to allow him to build his nearly million-square-foot ILM facility on the 3,000-acre Skywalker Big Rock Ranch properties he owns. And so, Marin County lost the hundreds of millions of dollars in annual expenditures of George Lucas's various companies that are now housed in San Francisco's historic Presidio area. Marin County's loss is San Francisco's gain. In his move northward, away from LA, Francis brought with him a budding young filmmaker and protege named George Lucas. And during a drive together one day from the Sentinel Building to Francis's home in Napa Valley, they came across Marin County's Lucas Valley and decided to have a look. As they say, the rest is history. And here, at the Skywalker Big Rock Ranch properties, which include over 3,000 acres within America's now third richest county, we see the second major, yet equal, influence on my design of the Avalon Digital Studios project. Between the scope and reach of Pinewood in England in its bucolic country setting, and the technological leadership hidden away in the vast Victorian splendor of Skywalker Ranch, we find the basic paradigm and precedent established for what is to become Avalon Digital Studios in Southern Oregon. Skywalker Ranch is extremely beautiful, inside and out. The attention to detail and craftsmanship are striking. Anything imaginable was achievable in the design and construction of what is, under the skin, a technological wonderland. Like Skywalker, Avalon Digital Studios and Destination Resort Lodge is to be isolated away from Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle so as to remain a freestanding, free-spirited, libertarian enclave where artists can live close by and work year-round in a facility which they will not only never have to leave, but due to its design ethos may never really want to leave. Merlin, Oregon, centrally and ideally located halfway between LA and Seattle in southern Oregon's Josephine County, is the gateway to the wild and scenic Rogue River Valley Wilderness region, and has been chosen as the site of this culturally and socially revolutionary technological development for a number of clearly obvious reasons. 1. The pristine beauty of the local area and its diverse surrounding locations. 2. The proximity to year-round water from the Rogue River. 3. Its isolated and secluded distance from the Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle entertainment and technology industries. And 4. The great, if not dire need in southern Oregon for an environmentally conscious economic engine with which to replace the loss of its all-important timber industry. Oregon is primarily a Democratic state, yet the southern and eastern regions of the state remain predominantly Republican. Josephine County is a 2,000 square mile bastion of predominantly rural Christian conservatism and has been historically and remains one of the poorest counties in one of the poorest states in the nation. Josephine County is in the grip of a poverty consciousness which works against Josephine County in a number of negative ways. 1. Local residents cannot afford to pay one another what they are worth. 2. This restriction on the necessary flow of money devalues their material worth and inhibits their ability to provide the best futures for their children. 3. It kills any desires for new ideas, creating a hopeless poverty of ideas. And 4. It creates an environment of fear and helplessness which inverts the psychology from one where people are being gripped by poverty consciousness to one where the people themselves are gripping the poverty consciousness. Thusly, a self-consuming cycle of entropy is created, where the snake is eating its own tail. This vicious negative cycle in Josephine County must be broken for good and forever. And yet, despite the reigning philosophy toward a libertarian Jeffersonian republic in a region demanding individuals to be personally responsible for their own upkeep, the prosperity and education of their children, and an abhorrence of a welfare-oriented nanny state, this region remains woefully reliant upon the federal government for handouts, the likes of the O&C funds and the Rural Counties Act, to provide the basic services of safety and security and general operations. These funds are and can only be, in the long run, short-lived. The Josephine County Library system is crippled. The local education system is struggling to keep pace with other more affluent and progressive areas of the nation, and the locality has become home to many extremist, survivalist, cult types, and fundamentalist, fanatical factions choosing to live off the grid, hiding away, and homeschooling their children with abysmal results. They continually refuse to vote for the real estate tax increases required to provide the basic necessities of any truly civilized society, claiming to love thy neighbor as thyself, all in a state with no sales taxes. This has left the greater Josephine County without a sheriff's effective command and control presence and has allowed meth-fueled home burglaries and business thefts to occur unrestrained at an alarmingly steady pace. This is most especially the case in the North Valley, which is without a modernized infrastructure, such as a comprehensive sewer system which is needed for commercial growth. Again, just as the growing concerns of commercial entities need a modern septic system, a modern septic system needs the commercial concerns in order to be viable and expansive in the short term. These are not opinions, these are facts as I have learned them on the ground, living and working and sharing the struggles of the community for the past 2 years. Avalon Digital Studios plans to deal with these problems in a number of defining ways which will aid and comfort the local community. On top of the $1 billion cost of building the studio and resort itself, M3 Holdings, the parent company of these developments, proposes to invest nearly $500 million into the North Valley alone and exclusively in a comprehensive modernization program which will see it converted to a truly 21st century community, powered predominantly by alternative energy sources with its own 4th generation WiMAX communication system, all within 3 years. Completion date, summer 2012. Also, obviously, a development of this size and scope requires its own security, fire, and medical divisions, as exists in other such entities like Google's Googleplex and Lucasfilm's Skywalker Ranch. Making these required resources commercially available to the local community in concert with the already existing but highly overstrained entities is seen as a primary responsibility of M3 Holdings to move the community forward and bring it into the 21st century, modernizing, beautifying, and greatly reducing a number of existing problems which are standing right in the way of Josephine County's potential wealth and freedom. The primary source of wealth in the area is the Rogue River, not just as a recreational area, but far, far more. It is the source of our replenishment. The blue line indicates where water, sewer, electricity, and fiber optics are to be installed underground as the primary and invisible technological infrastructure for the future. The interconnection of these three major aspects of the overall North Valley 50-year master plan is the core of all future development in the area. Avalon Digital Studios and Destination Resort Lodge and Skychurch Estate and Rural Backlot must be digitally interconnected, just as George Lucas's Skywalker Ranch in Marin County and his Industrial Light and Magic across the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco are. It has always been my prime directive to accomplish this development utilizing Oregon-exclusive resources, from people to money to materials. To this end, it must be acknowledged how much great talent and how many truly great craftsmen struggle to live in the area, from custom builders, painters, stonemasons, to the not-so-struggling ex-Disney, Lucas, Pixar, and other film and music artists who now call Josephine County home. The area has an enormous number of secular progressive intellectuals, all highly educated, extremely intelligent individuals who remain hidden away in the nooks and crannies of the county. 42% of Josephine County voted for the new multicultural president. Attracting other like-minded individuals to the project from throughout the county and the state will do much for bringing many of these extremely talented individuals to the forefront of this culturally evolutionary project. To date, Josephine County is fast becoming a retirement community which cannot and will not outlive its own limited endemic cycle of entropy. Wealthier retirees from other states move in at an increasing rate to live out their final years in relative comfort, most on fixed incomes. Again, the snake eating its own tail. But what comes next? Their children and grandchildren, not to overlook the local youth, cannot, over time, financially maintain these properties they are hopefully destined to luckily inherit. Josephine County is hemorrhaging its future. I propose to change this immediately by creating thousands of high-paying jobs that will last for years and years to come. I propose to put the craftsmen and craftswomen, the artists and artisans to work doing what they do best, for which they have spent their lives perfecting their skills and deserve to be paid for what their investment in themselves is worth. With one comprehensive project, we can shatter the poverty consciousness forever. So where do we start? Our first stop among the proposed M3 Holdings facilities is codenamed Skychurch Estate and Rural Backlot. Named after the white guitar used by Jimi Hendrix at the Woodstock Festival in 1969, this nearly 200-acre facility is to perform many functions, including, but not limited to, acting as the initial testbed for nearly all of the technologies to be utilized on and throughout the Avalon Digital Studios and Resort Lodge facilities, as well as the proposed new Merlin Village Town Square. With an overall cost of under $20 million, Skychurch will house the initial headquarters to be remodeled from the existing structures for M3 Holdings, while the engineering, architecture, and pre-production tasks are being accomplished for the other larger developments, including the permanent offices of M3 Holdings. It is also proposed that Skychurch will have its own private, non-commercial development studio. Skychurch, like Avalon, will be a high-security facility. And it is to have a world-class equestrian facility where the horses used in our films can be kept and trained. Skychurch will also act as the backlot for Avalon, where exterior scenes requiring tens of acres of flat ground are required. Upon completion in 2010, Skychurch is expected to exceed a value of $30 million, value added to the holding company. Local precedent is being established by the construction of the Paradise Ranch Golf Resort, which lies within 3 miles of the proposed site for the Avalon Digital Studios resort, and another as yet unnamed artist community, which is being proposed nearby for the future. After 12 years of stops and starts, Paradise Ranch is now entering the final phases of its realization. Having studied the history of the Paradise Ranch development, it has become quite obvious that the primary requirement for the successful and speedy realization of Avalon Digital Studios is the need to take it upon itself to bring to the local area the required infrastructure which is so badly needed, in partnership with the struggling local area businesses, including Paradise Ranch, Rendata Industrial Park, and Clearwater Wastewater Technologies. This includes water, sewer, electrical grid upgrades and wire burial, and a 4G wireless broadband network which will convert the North Valley from a hamstrung hamlet into an advanced, upscale, and wealthy next-generation WiMAX village. Next to and directly connected with Paradise Ranch is the Grants Pass Airport. As Paradise Ranch proposes to add its own hangars to the airport, so should Avalon. But first, the airport will require an expansion, both in length from 5,000 feet to 9,000 feet, and in width from 75 feet to 150 feet, in order to be capable of handling the larger business jets, which will bring high-value guests from around the world to both work and play in the North Valley. Since Avalon will already be building more than a dozen such buildings as sound stages at Avalon, building another at the airport as a hangar, and another at the high school as an auditorium-natatorium seems only logical in the functions of economies of scale. We are already buying in bulk, so doing all of this at the same time only makes the greatest economic sense, and especially at this time in America's history when jobs are needed so badly and materials can be purchased at great discounts which will further increase the value added to the parent LLC, M3 Holdings. Investing in the airport and the high school, like the rest of the infrastructure projects, is more than mere money spent wisely. It is the right thing to do at the right time in the right place. What those who are constrained within the box of the status quo see as insurmountable challenges, we who remain outside such tiny boxes see as great and wondrous opportunities for the future of the community as a whole. Further, that the local high school has open septic ponds on its grounds seems rather unconscionable while new and local businesses are rising and expanding. Providing the high school with a place where it can host its proms and dances and shows and films, and even its swim team during the cold winter months, is an addition that M3 Holdings not only could be, but will be greatly proud of. On the east side of the freeway, there is the perfectly logical acreage on which to site a limited big box zone, so that Josephine County residents need not spend or waste the extra time and money traveling to and from Jackson County. Placing this big box zone on a frontage road near the newly expanded Highway Exit 61 prevents another traffic mess such as the congestion found near the old fairgrounds in the Redwood district at the south end of Grants Pass. Placing Home Depot away from the center of town precludes further congestion in town and opens more area for additional green spaces with which to improve the quality of life in Grants Pass. The addition of an all-new and extremely modernized and streamlined fairgrounds just north of the new big box zone will further reduce the traffic problems on the south side of town and again offer more potential future green spaces to Grants Pass. Obviously, Josephine County's future expansion is northward toward Sun Valley and Glendale. It is easy to imagine many of Avalon's executives and junior executives owning properties in both Jump-Off Joe and Jack Creek as they become upscale rural residential areas. The next priority for M3 is to provide a shuttle service for its employees so as to absolutely minimize traffic in the North Valley. The most logical way to do this is to replace the old, outdated, and severely downscale Ray's Market near Exit 61 with a transportation hub, including a Greyhound depot, a comprehensive park and ride for visiting tourists to the North Valley, and a garage for our fleet of hydrogen-powered buses. From here, people can get from the North Valley into Grants Pass or across the nation. At the foot of the airport's runway sits the perfect site to where we can relocate the garbage transfer station. All along the south side of the airport is an ideal area for a light industrial strip mall. The now abandoned landfill, where the transfer station presently stands, only makes logical sense for conversion into an off-road motorsports park. Any and all environmental concerns can and will be dealt with accordingly so as to offer the North Valley and M3 Holdings a further way to increase its cash flow, as well as to protect the forest from the damage that is being incurred due to the lack of an appropriate place for bicyclists, motorcyclists, and quad riders. Adding an IKF competition go-kart track as well as a quarter-midget sprint car track would attract the money of thousands of participants and possibly tens of thousands of more visitors to the area every year. Off-road motorsports competition in America is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Josephine County would seem unwise to pass up these seemingly perpetual dollars. Having replaced the old, outdated, and downscale Ray's Market with a state-of-the-art transportation depot requires a more centrally located and upscale grocery store replacement. replacing the eastern section of the Rendata property with a shopping center which includes such an upscale grocery market, as well as a state-of-the-art digital 3D movie theater and a small houseware stores, seems more than ideal. Next to this, the old Rendata Reclamation Center should be replaced with a new alternative energy production facility, which can use both the biosolar technology being developed for Avalon Digital Studios and the recently proven technology of Stirling dishes. After an 11-year study, it was conclusively proven that Stirling dishes outperform concentrator photovoltaic dishes by a large margin. Rendata is a perfect site for such an array. And feeding this biosolar alternative energy station should be an evolved and expanded Clearwater wastewater treatment plant. Clearwater wastewater treatment plant should not be seen as just a wastewater treatment plant with which only to water the greens at Paradise Ranch Resort, but also as a water purification system with which to feed the hydrogen production facilities of the near future. Clearwater needs major commercial businesses such as Avalon Digital Studios and Destination Resort Lodge, Skychurch Estate, the Big Box Zone, and the larger number of smaller businesses at the proposed new Merlin Village Town Square development, just as local businesses need a comprehensive Clearwater systems facility. Local residents cannot be counted on to connect to Clearwater as long as they do not have to do so. Adding a relatively small number of commercial entities will go far and do much to help in bringing this badly needed infrastructure to the local community and in cost-effective and synergistic manner. Local businesses need the infrastructure in equal proportion to how much the infrastructure needs local businesses. The existing small group of businesses cannot do this alone, nor cost-effectively. The area needs help, and Avalon Digital Studios needs the local area. The symbiotic demands and opportunities are clearly apparent. Establishing a 50-year master plan to control growth, a major concern to the local community, as well as establishing a design and aesthetic standard for the technologically futuristic upscale village, will do much to allay the fears of the community, while also providing a hydrogen-powered localized transportation system for studio and resort employees, as well as local residents, which will alleviate traffic congestion and pollution, as well as many ancillary costs to the members of the local community. The next alteration for improvement will require the participation of the Oregon Department of Transportation. Where what is now known as Sanitarium Road, to be renamed Avalon Way, encounters Merlin Galice Road, there will need to be a stoplight and crosswalk for safety purposes. In order to make this new intersection even more logical and safe, the end of Acorn Street, where it intersects Sanitarium Road, will need to be closed. It is the proposal of M3 Holdings to buy this land, convert it into parkland, and give it to the Veterans Memorial Walk Group as an expansion of their park. A new arm of Acorn Road can be cut through the existing park, which will be replaced with the Central Park and the new Merlin Village Town Square, so that traffic can get to Merlin Galice Road. The only thing that will need to be replaced is the baseball diamond, and that is already in the development plan. Here we see the proposed site for the North Valley Artists Residential and Work Community. It is a project not of M3 Holdings, but of an outside group. The next site is one of my personal pet projects, the replacement for the SDA Church on Sanitarium Road, which is targeted as the future visitor center for Avalon and the North Valley experience. I like the white steepled churches in the American Northeast. Here it will add to the overall ambiance of the North Valley, especially during the fall months when the trees change colors and give the North Valley that bucolic feeling of a village of truly American heritage. Next is the Merlin Historical Train Station. The intent is to gather the three buildings built in the late 1920s which still stand in Merlin and place them together here as one building, which will preserve the remaining history of Merlin. This is to be a small, commercialized living history area which captures the history of the area and especially its old train station. As promised, here we see the siding for the replacement of the Merlin baseball diamond. The next overview is of Dale Hurst's Little Pantry convenience store and the soon-to-be replaced Mikey's Video. Most likely, Mikey's will be replaced with the North Valley Liquor Store, while its services will be replaced by video kiosks placed within Dale's Little Pantry. Video kiosks, as is the case with Blu-ray DVDs, will be a short-lived phenomenon replaced by video-on-demand services, streamed directly to the home via fourth-generation broadband WiMAX. Outside home video rentals will be obsolete by 2015 at the latest. Next is another project demanding Oregon Department of Transportation involvement. A roundabout, created especially for and placed at the Baldini's dangerous blind curve to slow traffic down to 25 miles per hour through the Merlin Business District, helping to improve the chances of success for those businesses, vastly increasing foot traffic safety, and which will also feed the entry to the all-new Merlin Village Town Square. Note that the red lines represent existing outdated drainage lines which unintentionally feed unacceptable levels of waste such as effluent runoff from failed septic systems and street-level toxins into Jump-Off Joe Creek and subsequently into the Rogue River. The green lines are a replacement for these lines, which will keep the effluent from these failing old septic systems from the Rogue River and will, instead, return all of the street-level drainage back to clear water where it can be purified and used for positive future purposes. And for the future, all street-level drainage systems must be fed back to clear water for purification and reuse. Never again should street-level drainage systems be allowed to empty into Jump-Off Joe or the Rogue River. Next is the Merlin Youth and Cultural Arts Center and the Merlin Skate Park. A primary shortcoming of the area is its failure to understand and grasp the importance of the all-important demographic of those between the ages of 12 and 24. The youth market is the main market in America and has been mistakenly overlooked in and throughout Merlin. The kids need a safe place to play and to freely share their culture. These two projects will ensure that future. There is no group in America with a greater amount of disposable income. To not embrace this always futuristic demographic is to embrace long-term business failure at the outset. The next stop is the second largest and second most important aspect of this overall 50-year master plan, the new Merlin Village Town Square, designed after historic Americana at its best. A town square park and lake surrounded by multiple-use buildings. Malls are out. Lifestyle centers featuring sidewalk cafes and shops below and apartments above are in. As its crowning piece at the north end of the square is the Jump Off Joe Balcony Restaurant, overlooking Jump Off Joe Creek and the mountains to the north. This rustic yet elegant restaurant is to be a 5-star dining experience for mature adults who appreciate the romantic splendor of fine dining at its best. The insert pictures here tell the story of the overall aim for this area. During the day, this is meant to be a family gathering area where fathers and sons can fish together off the bridges over the lake. Mothers and daughters can play together in the children's playground. Families can gather at the gazebo for musical entertainment or playtime skits, or just simply nestle together and watch a streaming movie on demand on a laptop via the 4th generation WiMAX, available free anywhere in the North Valley, courtesy of Avalon Digital Studios and M3 Holdings. Teens can gather and play in the state-of-the-art arcade. And at night, lovers can share a superlative romantic experience under the LED-lit trees, the splendor of Americana at its best, the promise of holiday extravaganzas, state-of-the-art technology hidden and invisible behind the arts and crafts defining craftsmanship of heirloom heritage. This is what M3 Holdings is all about. No corporate fast food companies or their signs will be allowed, per the wishes of the local community. This is to be mom and pop Americana at its best. Our next stop is the M3 Holdings headquarters, based in the proposed Boone Professional Building, named after the welcoming couple who gave so much of themselves to help me achieve this dream, Eric and Rachel Boone. This building is a smaller representation of the administration building at Avalon, and while it is an enormous step forward for Merlin, it also retains the intimate aspects of what came before it in small-town Merlin. Embracing the future does not require abandoning the past. These ideals should be more than clearly evident at this point of the presentation. Offering an extension of the ADS North Valley Security Force on a commercial basis to local residents will provide around-the-clock patrols of the North Valley, making it harder for the social pariah of meth head tweakers to get away with their continuing and seemingly unhindered burglaries and thefts. Making the fire, medical, and medevac units at Avalon available to the local emergency response teams will add to their effectiveness. Extending the advanced WiMAX infrastructure along the Rogue River, utilizing cell towers which look like trees, will aid search and rescue efforts where they are most needed. And our last stop before entering the studio itself is also one of the most important. The freshwater pumping and purification station at the confluence of Jump-Off Joe Creek and the Rogue River is needed for the production of hydrogen at Avalon Digital Studios, as well as the future North Valley Alternative Energy Facility proposed to be built on the Rendata property. In the process of converting water into electricity via hydrogen production, water is cracked and its two components, hydrogen and oxygen, are separated. The hydrogen and oxygen are then recombined in fuel cells where the exhaust is pure water vapor, which ultimately returns to the earth as rainfall. Throughout this process, 17% of the water mass is lost as it is converted into electrical energy. This mass must be replaced via the Rogue River and annual rain and snowfall. Pulling the water from this area, the most highly polluted stretch of the Rogue River, allows us to pull a good amount of pollutants from the river. As the water is purified and deionized before entering the hydrogen production process, the extracted pollutants can and will be stored after separation to be used as chemical building blocks elsewhere. Our tour begins at the Avalon Digital Studios main gates, bookended by the Visitor Center to the west and the Avalon Alternative Energy Fueling Station to the east. The Avalon Alternative Energy Fueling Station will sell only cellulosic E85, biodiesel, and hydrogen fuels, as well as being an electrical charging station for the next generation plug-in electrical vehicles to enter mass production by 2010. There will be no carbon-burning vehicles utilized or allowed within the inner confines of the studio facility itself. All inter- and intra-facility transportation will be accomplished utilizing electric vehicles such as carts, smart cars, hydrogen buses, and the General Atomics maglev tour tram. Foot traffic and bicycles will be utilized extensively on the many pathways that course through the vast botanical garden setting. This 3D pre-visualization, which you are about to experience, is the result of 25 years of research and development and 2 years of on-site work, exploration, and further study of the surrounding community, its people, their fears, wants, and needs. Welcome to Avalon Digital Studios and Destination Resort Lodge. Destined to become the preeminent, leading-edge, digital multimedia development, production, and streaming facility on Earth. Avalon Digital Studios is in the business of developing, producing, and streaming digital entertainments such as movies, music, and games directly to home theaters via the next, fourth-generation broadband technology now known as WiMAX. Fourth-generation WiMAX precludes the need for wireline infrastructure as it can travel for miles and penetrate walls utilizing the wavelengths and bandwidth no longer being used by analog television and which were recently acquired at federal auction by Verizon and others. As we move up the main drive, to be renamed Avalon Way, and pass beneath the overhead maglev tram, we look to our left to find the 50,000 square foot Tech Stack building, which will house our combined nearly $500 million regional hub for the next generation internet, to be known as the I2 Grid, our cutting-edge data and streaming center,
and our state-of-the-art render farm for computer-generated imagery and digital visual effects. Here, it must be mentioned that, due to limited hardware and financial resources for the production of this presentation, you will not see the CGI-modeled trees, plants, and vastly beautiful botanical garden features intended, and which are here represented merely in the skin on the topographical model. Our first stop is at the Resort Lodge at Avalon. This gorgeous craftsman structure of wood, stone, and glass elements, establishing the aesthetic theme for the entirety of the overall planned unit development, was designed on the pivotal philosophy of heirloom heritage. 200 years from now, this entire planned unit development will be the greatly important historical buildings of the area. The Resort Lodge will be a 5-star, 500-room tourist destination. Bringing the outdoors within its massive Gothic solarium atrium lobby, we enter a breathtaking facility with boutique shops with an Oregon focus, such as Harry & David, Nike, and other upscale entities, and 2 5-star restaurants representing Japan and Italy, the 2 main influences on the arts and crafts movement. The lodge will have its own interior ecosystem, including waterfall and river, inwardly reflecting the surrounding exterior experience of the Rogue River Valley. And behind the waterfall, the entry to the world-class subterranean Crystal Cave nightclub. Once downstairs, the river through the lobby above becomes a stunning, state-of-the-art aquarium, running the length of the world-class nightclub. Passing through one of its glass tunnels, we enter one of the Gothic glass elevators, which takes us upwards to any of the 5 floors. From the 4th floor, we get a good look at our Greco-Roman temple ruin, the source of our waterfall, past the life-size chess set, out along the open colonnade where our 50-person tour tram awaits us. The track structure itself is to be wrapped in a camouflage-like green screen-colored solar-capturing membrane which will aid in the powering of the maglev tour trams. Designed not to detract from the surrounding area but to interface with and promote existing local tourism companies such as Hellgate Jet Boats and the many whitewater river expedition and fishing guide companies. You can see that the maglev is the only ride at Avalon Digital Studios. Through the glass tunnel to the main of 7 solar glass maglev tour tram stations throughout the entire facility. As we leave the resort, we get our first look out over the support buildings and sound stages, all designed with modular exteriors which can be mounted with different facades for production purposes. The basic philosophy of this design is that modularity is adaptability. The next 2 buildings we see are the Security, Fire, Medical, and Medevac facility, and the 5,000 car parking facility. Then, just up the hill to the southwest is the Advanced Engineering Building, which, as proposed, will house the Western Educational Extension for the Oregon Institute of Technology. Here, advanced engineering postgraduates will work in the fields of hydrogen and other alternative energy systems utilized on and throughout the facility. Software, robotics, artificial intelligence, and all other technologies utilized within and throughout the production arms of the facility. This is primarily intended to be the main facility for advancement of the biosolar hydrogen production energy system, which promises to aid humanity well into the future. This is the main purpose of the central dome of the Advanced Engineering Building. Next up, at the top of the highest hill on the property is the Digital Visual Effects Division, to be known as a Hallway of Echoes, our version of Disney's Pixar, Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic, and DreamWorks animation divisions. This Japanese-inspired castle, as is all craftsman and Art Deco design, can house up to 1,500 animators as required, but is meant for an average of 750. We'll take a more in-depth look at this facility later in the tour, but for now, as we leave the visual effects facility, we look back north out over the area of the facility from which we departed. The design theme is intended to convey a number of large barns amidst a hinted-at Arthurian theme, which utilizes the name of Merlin as an inspirational starting point, and thusly Avalon, the lake from which the Lady of the Lake gave Merlin the sword Excalibur. Traveling down the hill from the main drinking water storage tank, which is shown here only for a representation of scale, but is intended to be entirely buried as is seen in the first inset picture here, we next come across Reservoir Number 1 to be built as an exterior water stage with its own blue screen wall. Here it must be noted that these reservoirs are also to be available at all times for local fire suppression and firefighting. We don't want to be just a good neighbor. We want to be a great neighbor who is here to love our neighbors ourselves. Below the surface, the reservoir has been sculpted for multiple underwater uses. Leaving Reservoir 1 allows me to explain with a bit more detail the multi-purpose wind spires you see spinning all over the property. They are constructed of lightweight frames and are covered with a lightweight solar membrane. On days or during the hours when the wind is not spinning them, these wind spires will track the sun using a fluid offset sun tracking system which requires no electricity to do so. At the top of each shaft is a small-scale Stirling motor which uses the heat rising from the wind spire structures to create further electricity. The wind spires are covered in a colorful translucent material which allows the rays of the sun to be absorbed by the solar membrane beneath, even when the spires are being spun by the wind. This colorful translucent film also traps the sunlight between itself and the solar membrane, increasing the solar membrane's efficiency and power-producing capabilities. The collective rooftops throughout Avalon equal approximately 1 million square feet of solar membranes. The next maglev station is located at the Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired pump house, which controls all of the water features and purified uses throughout the entire facility. It recirculates the water from the northern bottom of the facility back to the southern top, where it is returned to Reservoir Number 2, from which the water courses over 4 waterfalls, allowing the reclaimed and purified water to be further oxygenated and solarized while recharging the aquifers below. Just before the water pours over the waterfalls, it spins submerged hydro turbines, adding to the electrical resources required to run all aspects of the facility. And this brings us to the Biosolar Hydrogen Dome, the heart of our revolutionary energy system. Inspired by the leading-edge work of Roger Ely, Associate Professor of Biological and Ecological Engineering at Oregon State University, where an historically natural manner of creating hydrogen is performed in an all-new way. Blue-green algae, bioengineered to be heat and oxygen-resistant, wavelength-specific, and to repeatedly cycle through its natural process in order to split water into hydrogen and oxygen by way of focused sunlight, are assembled in three-dimensional arrays of hydrogen-producing biocassettes. wherein the algae live and perform their natural function without interference beneath a dome of structural nano-optic material, which further focuses the wavelengths required by the algae throughout the various seasons of the year. Inside the dome, the light is further focused by nano-engineered mirrors and light tubes. The dome is also capable of stopping all light from entering, thus allowing the diurnal cycle of the algae to be increased and repeated a number of times every day instead of just once, thus becoming, in point of fact, a 100,000 square foot bioreactor capable of generating the equivalent of 6 megawatts in winter and 10 megawatts in summer by producing enough hydrogen to power the entire studio, resort lodge, its fleet of vehicles, including the hydrogen buses and portable fuel cell generators, and all of the New Merlin Village Town Square, or the equivalent of powering, on average, 8,000 homes a day, every day, year in and year out, and still have energy left over to sell back to the surrounding power grid. Once proven, a minimum of 3 more of these 10 megawatt domes can be built at much less cost than this $150 million prototype at Rendata or the North Valley Alternative Energy Facility, where they will be capable of powering all of Grants Pass throughout the years and decades to come. The basic concept is that 64 1 cubic foot biocassette sol gel blocks surround a central smaller optic tube which captures the light from above and funnels it downwards and outwards in 3 dimensions through a nano-optical 2-way mirrored cylinder. Each 64 cube stack is encased in a structural nano-optic shroud for the containment of the molecular hydrogen, while the oxygen and excess heat is continuously vacuumed off for use and reuse elsewhere. 8 of these encased 64 cube stacks form a master cluster around a much larger light tube of the same construction. In 100,000 square feet, there will be at least 31 of these master clusters, or almost 2,000 biocassettes, surrounded by the egg carton-shaped, mirror-covered texture of the lower spherical walls, all beneath a structural nano-optical dome which focuses the wavelength-specific sunlight and then traps it inside with a mirror-like internal surface which, through a reaction at the molecular level, can open and close itself to light, and especially to wavelength-specific transmission, much like an electrical circuit, to let light in or cut it off completely. The cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae in the biocassettes, produces hydrogen en masse at first light, clutching the hydrogen to itself until darkness, by which time the hydrogen production has all but ceased when it is finally released. This is why the dome switches between clear and black a number of times throughout the day, causing the algae to go through its own diurnal cycle multiple times in a 12-hour cycle instead of just once. A nice thing about this process is that it converts the solar energy directly to hydrogen, an energy-rich, storable fuel at a maximum thermodynamic efficiency of a little over 40%. And the process is natural. It happens around us every day and has for billions of years. It is this purely pristine energy system which will allow Avalon Digital Studios and Resort Lodge, as well as all of its ancillary components, to be the very first and only carbon footprint-free multimedia production community on Earth. The Ananke principles, which are aligned with the heart and soul of M3 Holdings' core values, and of which there are 7, declare that sustainable energy systems should respect, protect, and restore Earth's ecological systems, biological diversity, and the natural processes that sustain life. Avoid systemic creation of products or waste materials that are damaging or incompatible with the processes of life. Avoid raw materials that are toxic, rare, or damaging to the Earth's living systems by their extraction or use. Rely on solar energy and take advantage of its distributed nature. Operate at conditions that are compatible with the natural processes of life and that do not threaten safety. Be aesthetically pleasing by blending into the built environment and adding beauty to it. Respect and be compatible with spiritual aspects of local conditions and communities, both human and non-human, or more simply, respect place. Our next stop is the amphitheater at Avalon. Here, we will present the greatest musicians in the world, as well as other acts, and even outdoor film events to an audience of approximately 5,000 guests. After the shows, those with reservations will be allowed to join the acts for an after-party in the Crystal Cave nightclub at the Lodge. During the tram tour, this will be a place people can stop for a snack before visiting the wildlife area where rescued animals are maintained. For this purpose, it is a major hope that entities such as Wildlife Images and Howling Acres will join with us to add to the tour experience in a synergistic fashion. After leaving the wildlife area, we will pass the Native American Living History Camp before stopping at the stunning administration building, which we call Bridge House. Inside Bridge House, the tourist will experience many of the cutting-edge technologies used throughout the facility, including a point where a holographic version of their tour guide explains these technologies, including windows which can change from clear to black or act as computer monitors. Here, we have allowed my son Joshua, who created this 3D virtual tour, to further display his modeling and animation talents with a representation of the Time Machine from the 1960 science fiction classic. It seems a robot has come back in time 200 years to give us the thumbs up from the future. Where it is expected, Avalon will still be standing as a historical representation of all the best of mankind's capabilities. Leaving the bridge house, we fly out over the main lake, past the fountain statue of the Lady of the Lake, the corporate icon and trademark of the company. Our next stop on the tour is our version of George Lucas's Skywalker Sound, a collection of orchestral scoring stages, recording studios, and sound design suites, where everything having anything to do with sound and music is developed, pre-produced, produced, and post-produced. Due to its overall look, we have named this division the Monastery. The Monastery will be the finest such entity anywhere in the world. Our next stop, as promised, is a hallway of echoes. Though tour participants will not be allowed inside this storehouse of proprietary intellectual properties, we thought we'd give you a peek inside this fun and amazing facility. Here we see the top floor corporate office and entertainment suite, which has the best overlook, as would be expected, of the entire property. Our next and final stop on the tour is Studio C, or as we call it, for obvious reasons, the Castle Stage. Pinewood has the largest indoor water stage in Europe. Canada's Filmport claims the largest multi-purpose sound stage in North America. But Avalon will have the largest multi-purpose sound stage in the entire world by a factor of 3. With interior walls 80 feet high and large enough to hold 3.5 football fields, this 150,000 square foot facility was designed to handle the largest productions in the world. Films like Titanic, The Abyss, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind would have been made here if it had existed at the time. The Castle Stage was designed so that filmmakers creating such enormous productions would have a goal-specific facility designed just for such endeavors. When Steven Spielberg made Close Encounters, he had to use an abandoned airship hangar, seen here in the inserts. And when James Cameron made The Abyss, he had to use an abandoned nuclear power plant cooling tank, also seen here in the inserts. And when the 60-foot deep water tank is not needed, it can be covered with a specially designed, lightweight but very strong flooring structure. And if and when this stage is not being used, it would be fun to let the tourists witness millions of gallons of water being dumped into it, as might be used during the filming of a flood scene. Both scary and exciting. As we leave the Castle Stage, we look out over the rest of the sound stages and support buildings, including those housing the set shops where hundreds of master carpenters, electricians, painters, glass artisans, sculptors, costume designers, makeup and hair designers, and all of the other great craftspersons of the area will make their living here in the North Valley of Josephine County, Oregon. I hope I have answered all of your questions with this presentation and have excited your desire for open and amiable participation. Together, we can do wondrous and amazing things for this area's future, and in so doing, raise the bar and set an entirely new standard for the future. It has been a very long time coming to be able to say this, but after decades of research and years of difficult and diligent work, which has required an unimaginable amount of sacrifice on the part of all those who have brought this presentation to you, on behalf of myself and the others, allow me to thank you with all of my heart and soul for your valuable time and kind consideration, and for the opportunity to attract your gracious participation. Thank you.